Alrighty. We're now going to hear from candidates running to serve our county in the office of State Senator for District 51. For this forum, each candidate will have 3 minutes to introduce themselves, 2 minutes to respond to each question, and 2 minutes for a closing statement. Candidates have not seen the questions prior to this evening. Opening statements will be given in alphabetical order by last name. Each following question will be answered by the next candidate in order. Our timekeepers are Melissa Mayton and Michael Moore. Michael will hold up warning signs when you have 1 minute left, 30 seconds left, and when your time has run out. We will begin with opening statements, and we will first hear from Senator Gooch.
I'll come around the front. Good evening. I'm Steve Gooch. I'm your state senator. I've been your state senator for 6 years. I was elected in 2010, and I've been in the Capitol during session for each of those years, representing you. I was your voice at the Capitol under the Gold Dome. As most of you know, I'm from Dahlonega. I live there in Lumpkin County. I'm a 6th generation Lumpkin County, and I have a family there. My wife Shannon and I were married 21 years ago this past Friday. We have 3 great boys, ages 7, 9, and 13, all 3 of which are going to Lumpkin County school systems. And I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of our schools here in North Georgia. But I'm most proud of the heritage of our communities and all of our North Georgia communities. And I'm honored and humbled to represent you in Atlanta, but I'm most honored to come home and help you in your communities and in your cities and counties. I work well with your local governments and your city councils and county commissioners and your school boards. And I work hard on that during the year. It's a part-time paid job, but it's not a part-time job. It's somewhat of a full-time position because you're gone nights and weekends and you sacrifice a lot of your personal time away from your families. But I think it's worth it because I think it's something that we all have to do is to give back to our communities. And so I work hard to try to make Georgia a better place to live, work, and play. I work hard to get up every morning and try to do what I can to make sure that my children have a future here in North Georgia, because I'd love for them to be able to stay here and work and have a career and raise their families here as well. I have a record for the last 6 years. I've voted on many, many bills. Hundreds, possibly thousands of bills have been either passed or introduced, voted on in committee, even passed through one of the 2 chambers or both, and passed and signed by the governor. Some bills get vetoed by the governor. That's the legislative process, and that's our American process, our government process. So I look forward to working another 2 years. If you decide to re-elect me to the state senate, I'll continue to work just as hard as I've always worked. I'm in Dawson County very often. I live just 15 minutes away, but I'm in Dawson County probably more than anywhere else in the district as far as my retail goes. I shop here at the outlet malls. I have dinner here in your restaurants. I worship in the church just south of here at Browns Bridge Church. And so I know a lot of you on a first name basis, on a personal basis. I've even invested in your community. I was an organizer of a local community bank here a few years ago, still in business out here on Georgia 400. One of the only few community banks that are still in business today. So I'll continue to love Dawson County like I do my other parts of my district, and I'll continue to work hard for you. So thanks for having me, and I'll look forward to the questions.
My name is John Williamson, and I'm the candidate for the Senate. I've lived in LJ and Gilmer County for more than 35 years. I've been married for 40 years. I have 6 children and 15 grandchildren. Now, your voter guide out there has done a very wonderful job as far as describing a lot of my background and a lot of my positions. And so I'd refer to that, and that'd be a lot better than trying to cover everything in 2 minutes. But I am retired. I have a PhD in physics, which helped me in my sales career of selling medical equipment. Now, my political platform is pretty straightforward. I have been a member and a co-founder of the Tea Party, and basically what I believe in is small government, low taxes, fiscal responsibility, and the rule of law. Now, our senator ran on that platform in 2010. But last year, we all know that he spearheaded the largest tax increase in the state of Georgia, supported the largest budget, the largest spending, and the largest debt in our history. I felt betrayed and mad. And that's why I decided that we should at least have a challenge to the incumbent, that voted in that direction. Now, in the past forums and debates, we've talked a lot about tax cuts and increases, and rather than go into all of those details again, I prepared a handout that shows the few real cuts and the huge increases that have been placed upon us since 2012. And we weren't supposed to hand those out, but they are in the back table, and they basically summarize a lot of the issues, a lot of the tax increases that we've seen since 2012. But I'm not just a one-horse candidate. Taxes are what got me into this race. But let's talk about how I want to serve the citizens of the 51st District. I want to serve you by listening to your concerns and attending county commission meetings, Board of Education, and other civic meetings like I've been doing in my home county to get an idea of what the concerns are and the needs are. I want to help you navigate through the bureaucracy that may be causing you problems in Atlanta. That's why you elect your representatives and your legislators. That's a big part of their responsibility. I want to represent your interests and inform you clearly of pending legislation and its effect upon you. And I want to make sure that we get our promised money for roads and bridges. Now, we have other challenges that are facing Georgia in addition to taxes and fiscal responsibility. Has anyone talked about welfare reform that can put people back to work?
Thank you.
So that is the end of the time. So I appreciate that. We'll cover some other issues later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. 84% of working individuals who live in Dawson County commute to another county to work. The top 5 counties besides Dawson to which they commute are Forsyth, Fulton, Gwinnett, Hall, and Cobb, all counties located outside of Senate District 51. As growth continues to come to North Georgia, particularly along the 400 corridor in Dawson County, what legislation or funding structure do you plan to support in order to ensure that the infrastructure needs, particularly that of road improvement and expansion, are met for our state?
Well, it's very interesting that we did have the Transportation Funding Act that was passed last year, and it will provide a 50% increase to the Department of Transportation, which is, I believe, responsible for a lot of the infrastructure that needs to be done to get the folks from Atlanta up in our area. Those projects are underway, and we certainly expect to see a lot more of them to do those. Now, one of the things that one has to look at is make sure that the projects that you need, that your county commissioners are saying that we need, are in fact on the list. Now, one of the issues that we have in Georgia is that we have had excellent road maintenance with the Department of Transportation. In 2012, we were ranked 13th in the nation for quality of roads. So there is a need for new roads and bridges, but actually the bridge safety that we talked about, that has been talked about, we ranked 16th out of 50 for the quality of our bridges and safety of their bridges. The one problem that needs to be addressed, in my opinion, is that at the same time, our Department of Transportation ranked 39th out of 50. That's 39th out of 50, not far from 50, in terms of its overhead and its administrative overhead. So there appears to be, even though there's some confusion here, is if we're losing employees or retiring them, why are we have such an overhead? So I think that we need to look carefully at our infrastructure plans, make sure that the dollars are spent wisely, and that they respond to the needs of the local commissioners and Chamber of Commerce and other people that have an input into this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent question. And because of the leadership of the House and the Senate and the governor last year in what we did for funding for infrastructure and transportation, we're now seeing some of the fruits of that labor. Let's start at the far end of 400. You said 85% of the people in Dawson County leave Dawson County to go elsewhere to work every day. They go to Forsyth, they go to North Fulton, well, they go all the way into Atlanta. They go over to Gwinnett. They do go around the 285 perimeter. One of the worst problems in our state is congestion. Not only do we have problems with funding to maintain what we have, but we're way ahead, way behind of the congestion issues. But not any longer. We've already issued contracts. Let's start at the very end of 400. There's a $1 billion project underway right now to create a new interchange at the 400 and 285 intersection. the most congested intersection in the United States right there. It's going to cost $1 billion to fix it. Coming on up Georgia 400, there's going to be new managed lanes added. When you get into Forsyth County at McFarland Road, from McFarland Road all the way to Highway 369, 2 more lanes are being added as we speak. Construction is already underway. Contracts were let for the 2 new bridges that are going to have to be put in there. When you get to the 369 intersection at 400, there's going to be a new interchange. It's now going to be called Exit 18. We already have 17. That's the last off-ramp. We're now going to have Exit 18. That off-ramp's under design. It's going to be put out for bid next year. It'll be built. We just put $13 million here, Highway 53 and 400 for a continuous flow interchange. These are hundreds of millions of dollars that are now coming to North Georgia that are going to benefit Lumpkin and Dawson and Forsyth Countyans who do have to travel down the road to get those good high-paying jobs. We'll continue to invest in that infrastructure now because we have the revenue flow that's going to be predictable year after year after year. One last thing, I just helped the Dawson County Water Authority, the Etowah Water Authority, obtain their 404 permit for the Russell Creek Reservoir. We're helping locals invest in infrastructure.
We'll move on to question 2, and Senator Gooch, you'll respond first. We recognize that legislators worked on many issues during this past session that elicited intense passion from both proponents and opponents, such as religious freedom, campus carry, and medical marijuana. Given that Senate District 51 includes at least part of, or the entirety of 7 distinct counties, what assurance can you provide us that the voices of Dawson County citizens have been heard and will be heard on issues such as these in the future?
You've already heard this similar question asked from the earlier candidates. We've passed the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. We've passed the Pastor Protection Act. We passed the First Amendment Defense Act. Both the House and the Senate worked well together in the last week of the session, and we combined all 3 of those bills into one bill, and we passed it. It was almost down party lines. Almost every Republican voted for it, and almost every Democrat, probably every Democrat did vote against it. So I feel like I've represented the majority of the people in my district, but I didn't represent everybody in my district. There's a lot of people in this district that were not happy with that vote, but I'll take that majority will back to Atlanta in January, and that'll be Senate Bill 1 and Senate Bill 2. Senate Bill 1 will be our religious freedom bill, whatever that happens to look like. That'll be our first bill. It's going to be our first priority. Senate Bill 2 is going to be the gun bill, similar to what we had this year. There may be changes in it, who knows, but we'll work with the governor's office, we'll work with the House, and we'll come back home next year with another Senate Bill 1, Senate Bill 2, House Bill 1, and House Bill 2. So we'll continue to make that happen. It's the will of the majority of the people in the House and the Senate, and I think we have the supermajority to pass it again.
Well, in previous debates and forums, I've been asked, what would be your first actions upon becoming a senator? I thought about that, and really, when I think about it and how I approach the position, my first actions would be pretty straightforward: to spend time in the district, listening to you and determining your priorities, talking to the commissioners of all the counties, and you and the civic groups and Chamber of Commerce. That's where I would start, because that's whom I'm representing. Now, listening to you, there are several things that I would like to get your priorities. For instance, is everyone in favor of resubmitting a religious freedom bill? Does everybody want to resubmit the campus carry bill? How about pushing forward a flat 5.4% tax on a voter referendum? We've asked about flat taxes before, and it seems to have an appeal to some people. But again, that's something that the voters should be able to determine. I'd consider repealing the 30% penalty that counties pay on their highway funds if they didn't pass the T-SPLOST, and that's your LMIG funds, and that's a reality. I'd work to exempt county and school fuel purchases from the state excise tax. I'd see that we get our promised share of road funds. These are the issues that I would present to you, and listen, in addition to other issues that you have. So that's what I would be doing, and that's how, that would be my assurance that these get carried forward. At your pleasure. Thank you.
Ranks highly on one of the many lists that ranks the best states in which to do business. This particular list is from Chief Executive Magazine, which ranked Georgia 8th overall, but 14th for taxation and regulation. If elected or re-elected, what steps do you plan to take to help move Georgia to the #1 ranking for taxation and regulation? And that's you first, Mr. Williamson.
Well, that's a tough question to look at the future. We have resources already in place that I would love to see exploited. We have in Gilmer County and also Dawson County and Fannin County, we have a wonderful environment for young professionals that could be in high-tech jobs if we could bring them here. And that would be certainly one of the goals that I would have if we could possibly expand our development programs to recruit companies that are in the cold north and show them that if they come down here, they have, number one, low-cost housing, and they have recreational for the young men that like the bicycle paths and all these roads in the mountains and parks. So I think that would be one thing that I would like to see exploited. On the other hand, there are some negatives. There are some negatives that we need to recognize, and I put some of those in the in my plan. You know, I said, how do you tell a company that you wooed to come to Georgia that each of their employees has to pay a 7% tax to register their car? Now, that's for a $30,000 car. Common Core math says that's around $2,000. So for every car they bring, they've got to pay a penalty of $2,000. So these are the sorts of things that discourage companies from coming here and discourage other companies and people from moving from other states. So these are some of the things we talked about. The gas tax, the 10% extra gas tax they have to pay. There's a lot of things that discourage them, and I don't want to dwell on taxes necessarily, but I'm just saying that we need to look at what we do and how we organize our tax structures and our regulatory issues to make it agreeable and a good place for people to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Gooch?
You know, I don't think it was an accident that Georgia was ranked the #1 state to do business for the last 3 years. I think it was due to a lot of hard work and leadership, and starting with the governor of our state, the Department of Economic Development. They've gone all over the world recruiting industry to come to Georgia. We don't want them just to bring their people here. We want them to bring their businesses here so they can hire our people. But before they do that, they've got to be sure that we're going to have a strong workforce that's educated and ready to handle the needs and the demands for those jobs. We have one of the best technical colleges systems in the country, ranked #1. Let's talk a little bit about taxes. Georgia ranked 50th per capita for general revenue from its own sources. Georgia ranked 49th per capita for state taxes. We've grown 1 million people in the last 10 years in this state. We continue to get bigger budgets because more people are coming to work here. Private companies are creating more jobs. The efforts of the Chambers of Commerce is here in Dawson County, the Georgia Chamber. They're bringing a good business climate to Georgia. These companies want to come here to make money, and they're going to return those profits to their shareholders, but they're going to hire our local people. And that's why the budget's growing. We're not raising those taxes. We've cut them. We've cut the income tax on seniors. We've cut out the marriage penalty. We've cut out the birthday tax on your cars. So we've done a lot. We'll continue to do more. My goal next year is to reduce that income tax. We passed that bill in the state Senate this year as a constitutional amendment. It would lower the income tax to 5.5%, and it would do it through growth in the economy. And so we'll continue to look at those tax policies that are pro-business and friendly to Georgia.
Thank you. Our fourth and final question will be answered first by Senator Gooch. Agriculture is the largest economic generator in the state of Georgia, generating over $74 billion last year. Tourism is the second largest economic generator, generating over. Dawson County currently ranks 31st for agritourism. I know there's some local groups who would argue that it's even higher, but we're going to work with them on that. Locally, we have the Amicalola Regional Agriculture Committee working to increase this ranking by diversifying agritourism offerings and promotion in the North Georgia area. As the agritourism industry continues to grow in Georgia, what can be done at the state level to support this industry and avoid the burden of excess regulation?
Great question. We're blessed in North Georgia to have some of the best natural resources in our state. We have a lot of diversity. We have the ocean in South Georgia all the way to the mountains of North Georgia. But in my district, in the 51st district that consists of 8 counties, We have the biggest majority of the vineyards and the wineries up here. We have the moonshine distillery here in Dawson County. We need to help get brew pubs started in Georgia. They're there, but they're not prospering like they could, and it's because of too much regulations in Atlanta. And so we fought that. I helped co-sponsor Senate Bill 63 with Hunter Hill out of Buckhead to try to deregulate a lot of that industry, and we'll continue to fight for that. I think we need to promote our tourism better. Some of the other states in our country have done a good job. Have y'all seen the ads from Missouri, Branson, Missouri, Pure, Michigan, Louisiana? Those states are coming here and they're advertising on our TV channels. I'm not sure where their source of funding is on that. I'm not for raising taxes to promote Georgia, but I'm for trying to redirect the funds out of the Georgia Economic Development State Agency to do a better job of promoting tourism. And North Georgia is where it is. People drive up here from Atlanta every weekend because of our tourist attractions, and I'll do everything in my power to help promote that industry here.
Well, I agree. We've seen a lot of growth in agritourism. I've seen it blossom in the last few years. It's almost keeping people from going to France, okay? I mean, it's so big. Now, my simple solution is very simple. Drink more wine. Or beef, or chicken. I do support agribusiness and agritourism 100%. There's no question about that. And the promotion that we get from out to other states, I, again, wonder how effective it is. For instance, I was almost ready to move to New York State after I saw their promotion about bringing business into their states and how they misrepresented their taxes, because I happen to have a son that lives up there. And so he was quite concerned that I would even think of moving up in the snow country. But the point of the story is that we do need to encourage our agricultural businesses and tourism, and I think we're doing a pretty good job. We recognize that. That's on the agenda of pretty much every commission, county commission, Chamber of Commerce agenda every time they meet. And it's an issue that we're trying to fix. We're trying to come to a conclusion and trying to find solutions to encourage that. And so I leave it to the creativity of the Chambers of Commerce and the local commissioners, as well as other input, to bring out solutions that we can then support. So I support our industries 100%.
Thank you very much. It's now time we're going to move into our 2-minute closing statements, and we will hear first from Mr. Williamson.
Well, as I wrap up, I just want to talk to you a little bit about why you should choose me as your next senator. I will be a better listener, but that's not enough. You expect me to act on your preferences that I promised to do. I will not baffle you with baloney, such as telling you that I have eliminated a non-existent tax. I will provide transparency of government. I will work to assure that our tax dollars are spent wisely. I will use resources such as the Georgia Public Policy Foundation and other think tanks to score legislation that's being considered. And I can read and understand bills. Now, we will heard has tremendous resources. Does that work? Is that better? Thanks. So we've already heard that North Georgia has tremendous resources, including our geography, which supports tourism and agriculture. And again, I support that 100%. We have nuclear power plants that provide a source of available non-polluting electricity to bring jobs to Georgia, including North Georgia. A challenge is to provide a workforce that industry needs. And to do this, we've got to emphasize the potential of technical training and not just a college education. I support the expansion of technical training schools. In closing, I'm asking for your vote when you go to the polls between now and May 24th. I'm fully capable of doing the job, and I can better represent all of you in the 51st District. For the most part, I am self-funding, unlike Donald Trump, and my votes in the Senate will not reflect the positions of the lobbyist and special interest group. They will represent the wishes of the people of Dawson County and the rest of the 51st District. This is your opportunity to decouple lobbyist contributions from legislative votes. So I ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Senator Gooch?
You've known me for 6 years, and prior to that I was here often. Being in Lumpkin County, I was a sole county commissioner and chairman of the Board of Commissioners. I've invested in your community. I have a track record. I'm friends with your state representative, Kevin Tanner. He and I work well together. He and I voted almost identically on probably 90% of the bills. I'm pro-gun, I'm pro-life, I'm pro-business. I'm one of the most conservative voters in the state Senate. It's on record. American Conservative Union has ranked me the second most conservative senator in the state Senate for 6 years. For the last 6 years, I've earned that achievement because of the button that I pushed on that desk, the yes or no, not from the promises or not from the political talk, but from the actions that I've taken on your behalf. I'm not going to please all of you. There's a lot of people in this district. There's 200,000 people living here. There's liberal thinkers and there's conservative thinkers. I listen to the majority of the people in my district. I'll always vote my principles, and I'll always listen to you. I ask you to email me, give me a phone call, come visit me at the Capitol, invite me into your business or your home, and I'll come and visit you here in Dawson County anytime. I would encourage you to go out and vote this week if you like. Saturday the polls will be open. The election is May 24th. I would be honored and humbled if you would vote for me again on May the 24th. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Please join me in thanking our candidates. Thank you again for everyone for being here, and just a thank you to the school system for always allowing all of our groups access to their beautiful buildings, and to the advocacy committee for putting this evening together. A few quick reminders: early voting has begun. You can vote Monday through Friday at the Dawson County Board of Elections from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. and Election Day is May 24th. We're doing a campaign to show that Dawson County's care and that we are voting as a group and that we're very excited about voting. So if you will send us a picture of your voter sticker or a selfie when you go to vote, and just if you're on social media, add hashtag Dawson Votes. We just want to show the world that we really do care. As I mentioned earlier, since all local and state legislative candidates qualified to run on the Republican ballot, this upcoming election on May 24th truly will decide the direction of our community, our county, and our region for the near future. So we hope you will make sure to not just spread the word. Obviously you care and you're involved because you're here, but please do spread the word anywhere, grocery store, church, you name it. We just want to get the vote out. So thank you so much for coming this evening and to the other forums that we've held, and we look forward to seeing y'all on voting day. Thank you.